Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the Infatuasian podcast. I know I say this all the time, but I think we have a really great episode for you today. I'm really excited about it, and I hope that you enjoy it and learn something. And before we introduce our guest today, I want to reintroduce you to a guy who actually introduced me to Michelle and her work and the great things that she's doing. It's our old pal, content creator, Jeff Yamazaki. Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing, Curtis?
What's new in LA these days?
Not much. Meeting people like Michelle here and there. I think something new is Threads. Have you guys heard of
Yeah, I
Threads?
just joined.
How did you?
It's like another media to join.
So I hopped on that, I think yesterday, and it's been crazy these past like 48 hours. But
What's our number?
what's up?
Yeah, I think like we signed on and we're like under the mill, and
Oh,
then I forgot to do my personal, so I think we're at
Uh-huh.
like 56 million.
what?
I don't even know.
That number shows
that
you
number.
the
That
you
number
signed up.
shows you the number that you signed up.
Oh,
Oh,
wow. Yeah,
really?
I looked at, like, someone was saying they were already at 30 mil when I joined, somewhere around there. So,
Oh, it's that number on the profile.
Hmm.
Oh,
so you
wow.
can tell who's like really quick adopter and who's kind of later in the game.
Oh, I am under a million. 819,456.
Nice.
Oh, wow. He's a beta
Wow.
tester. Yeah.
You're a pioneer.
Sweet.
I don't know if I'm going to be that. I actually never really liked Twitter, so I don't know why I joined it.
In the same way,
Yeah,
I'm like, what do I do
yeah.
with this?
But everyone else is doing it, so I figured out.
Yeah, you just gotta hop on it on all the trends.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I guess we may as well introduce our guest now. Our guest today it's kind of hard to describe you, Michelle. It's, you're a designer, you're a founder, you're a creative director at Uprisers, which is a fashion brand that's a community-driven streetwear brand rooted in stories of the underrepresented. And we'll talk about more about that in a second. But you're also one of the co-founders of Hate is a Virus, which is a nonprofit community of mobilizers and amplifiers to dismantle racism and hate. And we didn't even talk about ice skating. You were a competitive ice skater for a bunch of years. But before we get into all that, let's just say hi to Michelle K. Hanabusa. How are you, Michelle?
Good. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today.
Sure. And you're also in LA, yeah?
I am tuning in from LA. Yes.
Yeah. No, I was just telling you guys I'm going to drive through there. Maybe I'll stop for a day or two. We're on the way to San Diego, but there's a lot of cool stuff in LA.
Yeah, come on by. I'm in downtown Arts District, so if you want to hang out, hit me up.
Yeah, my sister's in LA. She lives, I think she calls it Central. She kind of near the Grove or kind of near LACMA.
Yeah, like Miracle Mile, Fairfax.
How far is the Arts District from there?
Well, traffic or no traffic?
So it's like 2 miles, but 3 hours.
Yeah. In traffic, I think it will take you like 30, 40 minutes, maybe.
Okay. But it's not that far.
It's not that far.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You got, at the end of the show, we'll talk about some stuff that's going on. I'm sure you have a lot of events planned for this month. Hey, do you mind if we dig into your roots a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
All right. So I think I read that you're Japanese, Okinawan American, but what generation are you? How far back does your family go in the States?
Yeah, so I say that I'm a fourth generation. But sometimes I'm like, it could be 3.5 or something like
Right.
that because my dad is Sansei, which is third generation. My great grandparents have been in LA for quite some time. And their first location that they lived in or bought a home was in like Fairfax area, right where you're going. So we have a lot of history there. But then my mom is from Japan. So she's
Okay.
technically like, I guess what, first gen. And
Right.
so growing up, it was very much like speaking Japanese in the home. But then I'm like
Ah.
fourth gen. So a lot of my counterparts that are fourth, fifth, sixth generation can't speak Japanese. But then I can speak.
That's cool. Do you know what did your dad's family do when they were here, like for all those generations?
So my great grandfather from what I've learned is, well, he had to get a job underage. So he lied about his age, and I think he was working in like the coal mines.
Oh, wow.
I don't know too much about that, but they had a laundromat at one point, and then they moved back to Hiroshima for a little bit. And unfortunately, that was during the times of the atomic bomb.
Oh, wow.
So their first daughter passed away from that.
Oh, wow.
When they came back to the States, they continued to work, but my grandparents they've done so many things, but they started a convenience store in South Central. My grandpa actually went to USC with an accounting degree, but was encouraged by his family or his parents to start be an entrepreneur and start a convenience store. So he dismissed his accounting degree and was like, hey, I guess I'm just going to start this store. It was really tough on them. There was a lot of violence and, racism, whatnot. It wasn't easy. And after that, they were like, we can't do this anymore. Then my grandfather started working in accounting. My grandma worked at a bank. They didn't have an easy life, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you actually speak Japanese, or is it more conversational?
Conversational.
With your parents? Wow, that's cool.
Can you speak Japanese?
Yeah, I could speak Japanese.
Really?
I don't know. It's hard to bring out Japanese all of a sudden.
少しだけ?
少しだけ。そう、日本語ちょっと話せますね。
Oh, very good. I love it. We're going to turn this podcast into all Japanese.
Let's do it. Yeah.
No subtitles and audio, so it might be hard.
Now my audience can hang.
Did you only learn Japanese through your parents, or did you actually go to Japanese school outside of your American school, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I apparently my first language was Japanese, and then they're like, oh, I guess she lives in LA. She needs to start speaking English. But I did go to Japanese school, so I went to Asai Gakuen on Satao.
Oh, you did?
I hated it.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I didn't survive very long. And then it still exists. I grew up in Culver City, but there's this elementary school. It's a bilingual language school where you could either pick Japanese as a language or Spanish as a language at that time. And so my parents obviously took me to the Japanese route. And you would learn all the subjects in Japanese for half the day, and then all the subjects in English. And I think their thesis at that time was when you're still, very, very little and your brain is still, formulating, whatever the right word is, you actually start excelling quicker once you're a little bit older. And so it was really interesting because I think I saw a lot of my classmates that were part of that immersion school ended up being in the honors and the AP classes and whatnot as we got older. So I don't know if it has to do with being in the bilingual language school, but
yeah, no, I think there's something to that. I think your brain, is able to make more connections, and there's something to that, with bilingual kids. And there's something about Asian languages too, because they're so hard, it really triggers something in the brain. Yeah.
I really loved that time period because even though there was the Japanese immersion school and then the Spanish immersion school, they also loved combining us, and we get to celebrate each other's cultures. And so at a very, very early age, we're learning about the Spanish culture, and yeah, I would want my kids to go there at some point. And it was a public school.
Well, it's still available to attend. Wow.
Culver City.
That's cool.
I'm starting to see some of the pieces come together, Michelle. You got the entrepreneurial blood in your family, and then this multiracial or diverse kind of upbringing. Was there anything in your youth that kind of pointed to design, or were you a kid who sketched all the time, or what kind of things were you into as a kid?
Yeah, I think I've always been this visual person. And if I really liked something, I really loved it. If I wasn't too fond of it. It was just like not even part of the picture. So it was very black and white of like where my passions lied, and it was always in the creative side. I was the arts and crafts, at home. I was always like collaging, sketching, just doing random stuff. As a figure skater, I designed all my costumes, and we would go to,
Yeah.
LA
Wow.
fashion district and pick out all the fabrics and the gems, and I would like put every single rhinestone on my costume. And I think it was a good thing too, because my parents didn't have a lot of money growing up, so it was a way of like cost saving for us to do
Right.
our own costumes. But I actually genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
And it had to be functional. You it couldn't fall
exactly.
apart. Nah, that's cool. That's cool. So where did I think I saw that you were working a little bit in the industry, but when did you get the idea that you could do it on your own, or that you could start a label on your own?
Yeah, that's a question that I get frequently, and there's not a straight shot answer. It's
Uh-huh.
been a progression of just like lived experiences over the years, right?
Sure,
Even
sure.
before I was in the um, professional world. And so growing up in like a multicultural space, um, I've experienced personal like racism, microaggressions over the years. And I think just trying to find a voice for myself, but then also for the community, was something that I couldn't necessarily find right away at that time. And I had great jobs and in the fashion and entertainment space.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at one point I was like, I don't think this is the path for me. And
Mm.
I will never have a voice if I were to continue on this route,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so if I can't find a platform like this, I'm going to create it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what I was doing. I never took any entrepreneurial class before, or,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think YouTube was as poppin' with all this information now.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I was like, I'm just going to do it on the side while I still work, and see what happens. And I was actually approached by folks who owned manufacturers. They became quote unquote my investors and put this idea in my head that I could start my own brand because they really liked what I was working on. That's how it
Mm-hmm.
started.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I think just over time, because that was like 4 years of that, and that wasn't Uprisers, it was a different brand. I think over that, it was like really just, I lived in factories and really learned
Oh,
everything
wow.
from A to Z. And I
Mm-hmm.
loved it. I love being in that environment in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
I surround myself with boxes right now, like it's like home for me.
Uh-huh.
But I really fell in love with the industry, and I think as hard of as it is to be in fashion, I think the additional layer to it was how can I bring purpose to what we're building?
Mm.
It's not just creating something cool and putting it out in the world and hope people would buy it. I think
Yeah.
I wanted to find a really creative way with a skill set that I knew how to like what to do and bring a mission into all of it. So that's kind of where the concept of Uprisers started.
Okay. So Uprisers, we described it before, but one of the phrases that was there that you touched on a little bit, maybe we can unpack that a little bit more, is what does community driven fashion mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. The way I like to describe it, which is I think a little bit opposite from how fashion works, is it's what is the messaging first? What is something that
Mm.
we can address as a community? What is something that is top of mind within our community? And how can we tell those stories through a collection or through a campaign? So
Mhm.
product
Mm-hmm.
almost becomes secondary. And it's more
Mhm.
about like, what is it that we want to stand for first? And then the vehicle of that medium happens to be fashion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when it's like community driven, right? Like we're not a nonprofit, but we're very focused on like being on the grounds of having these conversations within our current network and our current community. And how can we raise awareness around it, or how can we inspire folks to kind of think a little bit differently around XYZ that we're talking about? How can we tell these stories that you've never heard about, but are actually so cool and so dope that you would never find that out on mainstream media? How can we uncover those things and then like be champions of these communities and people? You know, we do these surveys every year at the end of each year just to actually get feedback from our community directly. And so first year we had 300-400 folks that are writing like paragraphs to us, what they liked that we did, what they thought that we can improve on, you know, what they would like to see us continue to do in the future. And that has really like crafted each year of like what we're focusing on. And so I would like to think that we're very intentional with everything that we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed on your website, you don't have hundreds of items for sale on your website. You know, I think sounds like everything's very intentional. Is there a process as you're coming out with a shirt or a jacket? What's your process on that? You start with a story? Is that kind of how it goes?
Yeah, so we start off with a story and we do this like deep dive, almost like creative brainstorming. Let's discover your roots. Let's learn about your history. It depends on who we're working with, right? So if it's an individual, for example, our first collaboration with Asia Jackson, and she started a movement called Magan Number NX, which addresses colorism at the end of the day and finding beauty within your skin, color of your skin. And we wanted to celebrate this like annual movement that she's created. And so it was really diving deep into that and how we wanted to celebrate that moment through clothing. If it's an organization, I think that process is a little bit different as well. If it's more of like these bigger corporations like Panda Express or like Cholula that we just recently launched, that process is different too. But it's like, how can we continue to keep community in mind and use their platform and their bigger reach to then amplify a story or an individual's voice within that?
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, especially with the Panda Express collab. I think that's my first touch point with Uprisers. When I saw the Panda Express jackets on Instagram or probably through the Uprisers Instagram, I was like, oh, that's such a cool varsity jacket. And what was like the process for that Panda Express varsity jacket, or how that collab came alive or came to life? I always wanted to know.
Yeah, I mean, the Panda Express collaboration is just so special to us. And I think a lot of folks are like, oh, how did you get that to work? And it's been years in the making, right? It wasn't just like, let's hit them up and let's create something. When they heard, so we got invited to show up at Complex Con, which is probably like the biggest like streetwear hub celebration out of the year, right? Like 50,000 people show up. It's all of like the latest brands that are debuting their collections, or it's just like a really cool space to be in. And when we got invited in 2021, I just, knowing that there's not a lot of Asian representation there, let alone a woman founder or designer, I was like, how can I bring our entire community, not entire, but like as many of our community into this space so people can learn about small businesses and all the cool shit that we're doing. We as in our community, our AAPI community. So I wanted to dedicate to my grandmother's convenience store in South Central. I wanted to reimagine what that looks like into a marketplace. And so we had, I think, 11 small businesses show up in there. And at that time it was like, you know, Fly by Jean was just about to pop, like Sanzo was about to pop. Then we had just a lot more other small businesses that were a part of the marketplace. And Panda really wanted to support that. So that was like the first step of us like starting that relationship. And it went so well. And people were like, I've never seen Panda show up in this or in
Yeah.
this space before. Like, oh, that we're like, okay, if we're gonna do this again next year, Panda, what are your thoughts if we did like a co-branded merchandise? No one has done this
Mm.
before in this space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they
And
never do collabs.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that's kind of how it started. And so it was
Mhm.
like a year in the making leading up to the next Complex Con. And the jacket itself, I really varsity bomber jackets, all of that is like really, really in right now. But I wanted to have my own feel to it, which is a lot of like mixtures and textures. And because we were doing like cut and sew, like how can we create more like movement throughout? So you'll see like the different patterns on the sleeves.
Mhm.
We made it like a reversible jacket. So you can, if you don't want this crazy graphics all the time, you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
flip it and it
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
becomes like a quilted black jacket. Um, the Chanel texture as well throughout. I think that is like a really special moment with all the embroideries.
Mhm.
The cloud like orange chicken, what I like to call it,
Uh-huh.
is paying
Uh-huh.
homage to the
Yeah.
clouds of the wallpaper that you see at some of the restaurants.
Uh-huh.
So we kind of like, yeah, it was a really great process.
And it just looks so killer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I gotta say, it works too, Michelle. I didn't show you, but I'm wearing my We Are Uprisers
Oh my
shirt.
gosh, what? Hello.
And whenever I wear it, so on the back, there's a big panda, right? And there's a bunch of AAPI brands on the back of it. You got your Twirl Milk Teas, you got your Sanzos, you got your Bowl Cut. And everywhere I go, when I wear this shirt, everyone asks me, "No way, where'd you get a panda shirt from?" And it's super styling. And it starts conversations, and it starts stories. And like I have a kind of a cool story about panda, because there's a Cecilia Chang. She had a restaurant in San Francisco, and one of her chefs ended up being the dad of the guy who started Panda Express.
What?
So there's kind of a San Francisco connection to Panda Express. And so I always have stories, and it just starts conversation, and it starts talking, and it's cool. It's an iconic brand in America. Everyone knows it, and it's cool to have it on a shirt and to represent other companies as well as yours, and just what you're doing. So yeah, it's clever, but it's cool, and it's really a good fit for you guys, I thought. So.
I've had people message us being like, "Hey, we wore our Panda jacket to a Panda Express and we got a discount."
Hey, man. Jeff,
like,
what are you doing,
okay.
man?
I gotta wear that every single day when I go to Panda.
Man, maybe they think you're from headquarters or something, Jeff.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and even just like people tell us their Panda orders all of a sudden, and it definitely is a conversation starter. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's great.
And you just said you launched with Cholula as well, everyone's favorite hot sauce. That's not sriracha, but everyone's favorite hot sauce. And it's just, how do they find you, or you kind of pitch it to them, or you start the conversation?
Yeah.
Does it work the same every time, or is it different every time?
It's different every time. I think we, right now, a lot of our collaborations have been inbound. So Cholula was an inbound. And I believe it started because they saw a panda. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, oh, how does like the food space like show up in this space,
Mm-hmm.
and how can we do it in a creative way? And
Yeah.
it was really, really great to work with a Mexican American designer as well. And he had this idea of creating like a traditional Mexican poncho, right?
Mm-hmm.
That a lot of people have, but then let's use hoodie material, so fleece, and like reimagine that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been like a very popular piece that everyone keeps on being like, it's my favorite right now.
Yeah, I mean, do you have, when you say team, you have someone who specializes in like materials and sewing, and then someone else more on the graphic side, and someone else more on the marketing side? How does your team work together, or does everyone have all kinds of specialties?
Yeah, our team is very, very small. So like I still do the graphics. I bring on graphic designers when the projects are like big enough where I can bring them on. Marketing, it's like me and one other person.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, partnerships and like closing deals like that. We have like now management helping us with that. So they are an incredible team to work with. So we just have like really, really good people around us that can help us execute this as we are still a small business.
I had one piece that I wouldn't mind talking about, but do you have a piece or part of a collection that you'd want to talk about?
Ooh. There's so many, but I think the one thing top of mind right now is our Southern California Flower Market collaboration that we launched in 2020, right before the pandemic. That was a special one because it's such an international hub for like flower growers and even just florists, and people like come to DTLA in the entire like flower district to get flowers, right? It's like a thing now. But it was actually started by Japanese American immigrants.
Oh, really?
And it started in 1912. So I used to volunteer and also do some of their socials back in the day. And so I'm really close with them, and like the flower market is such a home for me. Like I love going there. And so when I pitched this idea back then to like, hey, let's tell a story because no one knows this. They were like, yeah, let's do it. So even if it's like a local campaign like that, I think it's very, very meaningful. And we're talking to a DTLA hotel right now that has really, really loved the storytelling aspect and telling the history behind Los Angeles, that we're now talking about taking that same concept of the flower market history into a larger scale retail opportunity. So I really, really enjoyed that. And there's other, I can't mention it yet, but there's a fashion district in downtown. I guess there's only one, but there's conversations around that to really tell that story too, right? Because there's so much history behind it.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we uncover those, make it cool, but then also meaningful?
Yeah.
To our the generations.
Man, I love this. I feel like there's like all these little secret Easter eggs in all of your designs and all your clothing. It's like, it's not just like, you're not just buying a shirt, you know, you're buying the story, you're buying the history, you're buying, this doesn't sound right. You're buying people. I mean, you're buying their experiences. You're buying, you know, who they are, their essence in a way when you buy your clothes. It's very, very cool. Michelle, what do you have planned for Uprisers? You got a lot. It sounds like you're busy all the time, but what do you have planned for the rest of this year? You got some big events coming up?
Yes, we do, but I can't share just yet. But next spring will be quite exciting.
Next 2024?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's going to be kind of our like next milestone. I think that we're really like it's very, very exciting. Yeah. I'm sorry I can't really share just yet, but
she would have to kill us if she told us.
Yeah. Actually, one of my first events that I got invited to was an Uprisers event, which was super cool. Michelle invited me to, what was that event? It was kind of like a early meetup, right?
Yeah, it's just like a meetup event, just with our current community. And it was our way to share what's coming up next, and then an ability for everyone to just network with each other. But yeah, there was a presentation that I shared, and it was very cryptic. It was like, these are the icons that are coming out. I mean, now you can. I had one like chili sauce. People know that was Cholula.
I see.
See, she's all about the Easter eggs, Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming to that, Jeff.
No problem. That was so much fun. And that was my first experience kind of connecting with the API community. And I've been connecting more and more with the people in this Los Angeles area. And everyone is so kind. Everyone wants to help out each other. And so I kind of felt that at the event, and kind of reflects on, you know, the Uprisers story and meaning or message that Michelle shows in her clothes in her company.
So if you're in the LA area, you have a storefront. Yeah, you have a Uprisers storefront.
We're actually moving.
Okay.
So RIP, end of an era.
But beginning of a new one.
Beginning of a new one. Yeah. So the intentions here are we're moving everything to Commerce to be like the official like warehouse fulfillment center. And then the new area that we're moving into, it'll just be dedicated for a showroom. So we can have like certain meetings and bring people through to see the products and whatnot. So that's the plan.
But it won't be retail space?
It won't be our retail space was more of like pop-ups, like we would do like events, and it was not like open 5 days out of the week situation.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to know more about Uprisers, you go to weareuprisers.com, or you can follow them on Instagram, and then you'll know when a pop-up pops up, or you'll know what's coming down the pike. So everyone should go do that and check out the stories online and see the faces and see the stories as they're being turned into fashion. It's amazing. So let's talk about Hate is a Virus. You and your friend Tammy Cho founded it in 2020. And, we could probably guess why you started it, but I want to hear from you. So where did the genesis for Hate is a Virus get started?
Yeah, this was before lockdown. And I was just sitting in my living room, kind of just seeing what was starting to happen on social media and all of the, I guess you would say, like hate comments against our community because of, various reasons that we all know why. And I couldn't just like sit there and not do anything about it. And we've already started to see a decline in business. Asian-owned businesses, small businesses in the LA area was already starting to see a decrease in sales because of misinformation. And so I didn't think about anything other than like, let's just do something. And so it was actually Carrie Okubo and Saul Lopez. It was the three of us that were in my living room. And we're like, let's just do a Hate is a Virus food crawl. Let's support these small businesses. So we just got a bunch of our
money. Just to buy some food. Yeah,
we're like, let's just like get a bunch of our friends, go to some of the businesses, and let's start this. Let's do this on a weekly basis. Let's do We did one event, quote unquote event, and then lockdown happened.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, well, this is not going to go away. I posted it on my socials being like, I don't really know what's happening right now in the world. Clearly, we're all locked down. But we're going to continue and create a safe space for people to share what they're going through right now. Whoever wants to help, let me know. So Tammy reached out. She's like, hey, let me know if I can help in any way. And that's really when it started in the digital space. And
so you weren't even friends. You're basically strangers. Oh, okay.
We were acquaintances.
Okay.
So for the most part, we built this from just Zooms, and in a matter of a couple of weeks, I think it was like 15 million impressions, just organically, like folks DMing us, emailing us, sharing their different experiences, that they're scared to go outside because they think that they're going to get attacked, like nurses who are caring for COVID-19 patients were being like, verbally abused and all of these things. And at this point, it became more than just a local initiative. It was much bigger than that. So we started to try to really figure out what is it that our community needs right now. And so we started these like virtual fundraising opportunities to just give rapid grants to those who are like affected most. And Tammy has experience. She has her own nonprofit called Better Brave. So she has a lot of experience in the nonprofit space. I, again, only know the fashion design industry. So I was like, okay, let me just print some shirts out and keep on donating to Hate is a Virus, right? So that we can disperse those funds to small businesses at the time, and then became just grassroots organizations. And we made it a goal that we found out that out of all philanthropic funds in the US, only 0.3% are allocated to the AAPI community.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really, really small amount. So we're like, how can we better support this? And we just threw out a number. We're like, let's just have a goal to raise $1 million.
Yeah, let's make that. Yeah. Only one. Yeah.
Like, we're just locked inside anyway. Let's just do this. And I think, with Tammy's leadership, with all of the incredible like volunteers that hopped on to Hate is the Virus, it just kept on going. And it took a minute. It was 8 months of people not really seeing that this was a necessity for our community. They didn't see that there was a huge issue at that time,
Mm-hmm.
But it took a minute, but we were finally able to reach that goal, and have been able to support 70 different organizations across the US. And as we are lifting, I mean, now it's almost like we weren't even in the pandemic, which is so odd to think about.
Yeah.
Really trying to see what is it now that Hate is a Virus can show up for our community.
Yeah. So what's the continuing work that you do? I know you do education and give people a platform, and of course you still fundraise. What are some of the things that are actively being done by Hate is a Virus? Yeah,
so our theme now is community care. And this has to do with more of the mental health space. We really want to nurture the folks who have been doing this work, not only for generations, but also like the up and coming like community advocates, activists, folks who are really pushing on a ground level, like grassroots level, that's addressing racism, hate, all the intersections of why we're seeing this type of these issues. And so that also comes with community care, being able to nurture each other so that we can continue this work, because it is a lifelong journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to get solved tomorrow. And so leaning on this, we're thinking about different ways of how we show up in person, not just in the digital space, but in person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if someone wanted to get involved, how would they get involved with Hate is a Virus?
You could go to hateisthevirus.org. Yeah, we are. It's a very exciting time for Hate is the Virus, because there's a lot of like transitions that are happening right now, because we have to evolve right with the times, and so there will be a lot of opportunities to get involved. So just reach out to us, and we can see where that goes.
Do you envision an end to Hate is a Virus being necessary? Is that the end goal? Is like someday we won't be needed?
I mean, that is the goal. I think what's hard is that sometimes we put in all this effort, and then yet we see comments on the internet, like, are things really changing, or are we going backwards? And what's been a peace of mind is talking to one of my mentors, Mike Morase. He's been doing this work since the 60s and 70s, right? And he's also been working with the brown and Black communities ever since he was in college. So chatting with him, as well as other folks like him, they said that they would have never thought they have seen this much progress, unity starting to happen in their lifetime. And so although there's just so much more work that needs to happen, and you just can't do it tomorrow, we have to also like take care of ourselves, right? So that we can be in this journey for the long term. It's reassuring to hear from them that, like, okay, as the next generation is coming up, and even folks who are younger than us, that are doing this work too, that hopefully that we are going to continue to see this progress. And yeah, I hope that one day we don't have to say Hate is a Virus.
Yeah. All right. Important work. Thanks for that, Michelle. All right. You have survived our difficult questions. Are you ready for Jeff and my lightning round?
Yes.
All right. I'll start with the easy question. What's your go-to order at Panda Express?
Orange chicken for sure.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
always got to do the orange chicken.
I'm yeah.
You going chow mein? You going fried rice, white rice,
I
brown
half and
rice?
half always.
Okay, yeah, the half and
Yeah.
half.
And then it depends on my mood, but it's like the walnut shrimp, or I'll just
Uh
do
huh.
like the super veggies. Just
Uh
depends
huh.
on my mood.
You know, I was just at the mall yesterday and they had all these great options, but the only place with a line, Panda Express.
Really?
Every
Yeah.
time, yeah.
What are your guys' orders?
Oh, I think I'm a half and half guy myself, an orange chicken for sure. And then yeah, you know, it depends on your mood. Something you're feeling spicy, you know, might go a little eggplant, or sometimes you want to go walnut shrimp, or you're feeling extra rich that day. You might go with a premium item, you know, maybe maybe some beef, maybe some Angus beef or something. All right, this is one I asked Jeff before too. Do you have an easy fashion hack to up one's style? Like just something easy that you could tell someone to just to start.
Yeah, I always think that there's like a statement piece and whatever that is in your world. For me, I think it's like having jackets that are like the statement pieces and just having core basic essential pieces to go along with it can be a pretty simple just day to day.
All right. So, what's your statement piece that you like to bring out when you're feeling a little extra?
It's definitely in my jackets.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Yeah.
How about you, Jeff? What's your statement piece?
Oh, might have to be shoes. I've been
Yeah.
getting into shoes a lot more. Getting not really sneakerhead territory, but starting to. It really makes a huge difference when you put on a unique sneaker on an outfit. It just like completely changes the whole look. So I think
Yeah.
that's one of my easy fashion hack.
All right.
So which celebrity style do you love or kind of relate to? Or maybe what do you want to design for someone? I think it's a unique niche to style someone, but any celebrities that you love to style.
That's a good question. I'm like not super like celebrity driven.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would love to style. I don't know. I think it would go to my like childhood. Okay, hold on. So recently I stumbled upon meeting Lance Bass.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, in sync.
Yeah.
I saw that.
He wore the panda. He like loved the panda jacket. I
Uh-huh.
feel like there was something about it that meeting kind of like my old
Uh-huh.
childhood
Uh-huh.
dreams. It was very different from like meeting a current day
Right,
celebrity.
right.
Mhm.
So I think in that lane it would be something like a Lancer. I don't know, even like Britney Spears or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how that
Why?
would go, to be honest.
Yeah, it would take a
But
minute for you to get over it, right?
yeah. So yeah, sorry, I don't have one.
No, I love it. I love your answer. All right. All right. Now, this is not really about fashion or food, but we did an episode with your friend Ray Liu from the Real Asian Podcast on our top Asian athletes of all time. And we kind of created a Mount Rushmore of Asian athletes. And so let's see, I picked Tiger Woods, and then someone else picked Duka Hanamoku, and someone else picked Manny Pacquiao. And then Ray came in with a female ice skater to put on this Mount Rushmore. Now, I think I might know your answer for this one, but he went with Michelle Kwan, and some of us older folks were
Really?
like, yeah. And so I'm a little older. The other people on the panel were a little older, so we were like, nah, it's Christy for us. Christy Yamaguchi, of course. I want to hear your answer. Who would you put on the Mount Rushmore of Asian athletes, Michelle Kwan or Christy Yamaguchi?
Yeah, it's Michelle Kwan,
Yeah.
hands down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she's the reason why I started skating. So
You know,
Oh,
there's probably thousands of young women and young men who can say that. Like Nathan Chen said that, right? Didn't he say?
I don't know, actually.
I think I have
Did?
heard him say
Okay.
that. But
That's so
yeah,
interesting.
for
I'm gonna have to hit up Ray, be like, why'd you pick Michelle Kwan? So curious.
No, he said the same thing. He loves women's sports, and he just really thought that she, for a generation, like she dominated. So
yeah, she's a legend.
Yeah. So, people my age were like, well, Christy was the first. So it was just kind of like, and the gold medal. Yeah, I don't know. It's that old Olympic gold medal thing that kind of hung us up a little bit on Michelle, but her body work's amazing. She said she's still representing, and she's still, for so many people, an icon. So I had no argument really with that, but I just wanted to hear you say it as well. All right, and we like to end our episode by asking our guests who their Infatuasian is. Infatuasian is anyone in the Asian community, living or deceased, that has inspired you. Could be someone you know or someone you admire from afar. So, Michelle K. Hanabusa, who is your Infatuasian?
My grandma, hands down.
Yeah.
I pay so much homage to her and her life, and so yeah.
Cool. What was it about your grandma that made her so cool?
For one, I think everyone who meets her, they're just like instantly gravitating towards her. She'll just like sit there in the room and people just like love her all of a sudden. So she just has that magnet in a way. But I think just everything that she's been through and what she's overcome, and then like been able to provide, the next couple of generations after that. It's like you just got to give the flowers. And so I've learned so much from her. She's like my second mom. She's lived with us since I was like in middle school.
Did she live through World War II as well?
Yeah, she was. It was in Okinawa, and so she had to live in caves before because everything was ruined, and they didn't have anything to eat.
Yeah, no, there's a reason they call that the greatest generation, because they saw some stuff that some of us would just crumble under that kind of pressure. But
yeah, she's like, why do you have allergies? I don't have anything.
We're so soft.
I'm like,
we're
what?
So soft. All right, thanks for that. And today you're our Infatuasian, though, Michelle. We just love what you're doing, and we just are really happy to speak with you. And you too, Jeff. Thanks for coming along, giving us some of your afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure talking with you and Michelle. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's an honor.
Of course. Yeah. Oh, well, no, we're happy to have you. So I think that just about does it for our episode. Good luck to both of you on everything. And if you want to know more about Uprisers, you can go to their website, weareuprisers.com, or We Are Uprisers on Instagram. You can follow Jeff also at Jeff Yamazaki on Instagram. Hey, congrats on 80K followers, man. That's a big number, man.
Big number. It's growing. I really appreciate all my followers. So thank you for that.
It's amazing. Congrats.
When I posted your episode, I got about 5 or 6 direct messages going, "Oh, I know that guy. I've seen him on my feed all the time." And I got one piece of feedback for you though. One of my friends goes, "Well, the only knock on Jeff is he smiles too much." So, so once in a while, Jeff, you just gotta mean mug, or you gotta just not grin so much.
Actually, the AAPI video I do on Sunday is I try to keep a straight face, and people comment like, "Why aren't you smiling?
What's wrong with you?"
Why do you not try to smile on those videos?
I don't know. It's just how I started, just like a straight face. And so I kind of didn't want it to put the spotlight on me, so I just kept it very straight.
Well, Jeff, I love the fact that you smile, and it's like when your content lands on my feed, like it's like a ray of sunshine. You know what I mean?
It makes you feel good. Yeah, no, you do you, man. You just don't worry about this one hater. All right. And of course, you can find Hate is a Virus at hateasavirus.org. You can check them out as well. And so, let's see. Oh, I forgot my own handle. So, yeah, of course, you can follow us at Infatuasian Podcast on Instagram, Facebook. And as I mentioned, if you want to just write us a good old-fashioned email, you can write us at infatuasianpodcast@gmail.com and let us know your thoughts. Follow us or subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, where you can follow us. And so I guess that's it. So on behalf of Michelle and Jeff, we hope that you're all happy, healthy, and safe out there. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.